Hi, I'm Larissa Klein from Approve It. It has been a pleasure to get together in this event, and today I would like to talk about regulatory approvals in APAC. Okay. As a company introduction, Approve It was founded in 1995, offering type approval services and consulting for Latin American countries. The service was then expanded to African countries and subsequently covering the rest of the world. Now we have staff placed strategically throughout the globe, including native speakers of 9 languages in major markets, with over 100 local agents covering every region. This helps us build strong relationship with local authorities and agents, as well as keeping up with updates with the local regulation. As a proof of a commitment to quality, we are ISO 9001 certified. Here are some concrete examples that reflect our experience in this market. We have completed over 8,000 approvals in over 180 countries and territories in 2022 alone. Since our founding in 1995, we have completed over 80,000 approvals for multiple technologies. Our team is currently able to provide services such as type approvals, research, and trainings for over 250 countries and territories. Getting down to the main topic of the presentation, I will talk about country-specific radio certification for LoRaWAN devices in APAC. When it comes to radio type approvals, it is easy to think in 2 categories. One that is a simple process where manufacturers can leverage technical documents that they normally already have, such as EN or FC test reports, to obtain the local approval. On the contrary, there are more complex cases where on top of the technical documents, samples, local tests, and coordination with local representatives are necessary. This type of approval takes more time and effort from all parties, and naturally we face more blockers on the way. A lot of the cases in APAC, the local process will fit the description of the latter. I'm going to go through 10 countries and summarize some key points. For Brunei, radio approvals are controlled by Authority for Info Communications Technology Industry of Brunei, also referred to as AITI. Local approval is needed, but can be processed with documents only, and it is a quick process. One detail to note for Brunei is that the certificate holder should be the actual importer. For car components, the authority expects the car dealership to be the certificate holder. So we need to know the brand name of the car that the device is intended to be used in Brunei. This unusual request tends to catch some manufacturers by surprise. India. The authority is known as WPC, and the key point here is the frequency band that is unique. The EN test reports would naturally have to cover this band. If that's not the case for your reports, then local tests will be needed. In most cases, test reports will cover a wider frequency range, so we will also need a declaration letter stating that the bands outside of the limits will be disabled. But it's a good news that at least we can leverage the test reports. As for the local rep, it is needed, but our agent can issue that SDETA as an authorized Indian representative, and each importer can use it to follow their import process accordingly. Indonesia. The authority is SDPPI. We can either obtain the type approval with paperwork only or with local tests and paperwork. For more unique technologies, it's recommended to avoid local tests because there are not many labs that can handle such tests, which means that the lead time will fully depend on the lab availability. To have your EM test reports accepted, there are 3 points. Please ensure that they are first issued by an SDPPI MRA lab. Second, issued after August 8, 2018. And lastly, cover the exact frequency band. No more or less, the exact frequency band listed here. For LoRaWAN gateways, please have the data localization setting. Despite all the above points to consider, what tends to take the most time is working with the local rep appointed by the manufacturer. We had cases where the local rep was not registered under SDPPI or not being responsive. The first point is not a big issue since we are more than happy to go step by step with the selected local rep and complete the registration process because they need a particular account with login ID and passwords in order to be able to submit the application. But the latter point of not being responsive is what prevents the process to move forward. Since we are highly dependent on letters that need to be signed, stamped by the local rep, and all the other general actions from their end, it can take a lot of times just because they're not responsive. So to summarize, please push your selected local company to be cooperative. Korea. The authorities are specific tests under the local law are required, and we normally have this handled locally. As for the sample, on top of the typical conducted samples, we need a lead wire from the power circuit. If struggling with this, the local lab can provide a further explanation or assistance to prepare this. The local rep here uses the contact point, which we can offer as part of our service. The frequency to be used is an important factor in how easy the process will be completed for Korea, because channels 26 to 32 are allowed for general LoRaWAN products with maximum output power of 25 milliwatts. If wanted to use the remaining channels, we highly recommend having us first check the technical details with the lab to find the best approach for your particular device. For Nepal, radio matters are controlled by NTA, and at the moment, LoRaWAN devices are not subject to local approvals. The authority will refuse to issue the certificate. So, let's move on. Malaysia. Malaysia, the local approval is known as SIRIM. The key here is to have the contact of the actual importer and the test reports that matches the frequencies listed. No out-of-band frequency allowed, it needs to match exactly. Unfortunately, otherwise we will need local tests, extending the lead time and costs. Philippines. This is the simplest country out of the other ones presented. We received the documents matching the local frequency, and within 4 weeks, the certificate is issued. No local importer information needed, and we normally do not face challenges here. Singapore. The approval is regulated by IMDA. Some points to note are, first, if the output power is below 500 milliwatts, we can follow a simple process. This is the case where the lead time is the shortest. We put as 1 week, but actually it takes less than 1 week. Second, if output power exceeds 500 milliwatt, then only 920 to 925 megahertz would be available. The limit for this case is 2 watts. 3, local company with proper registration is needed, and they have to be cooperative with our agent. We can offer the local rep service if needed. And lastly, machine-to-machine devices will require significant amount of effort and very detailed documentation, even at the quoting stage. So perhaps it might be hard to cover all those points at right now, so perhaps this point only would be worth a presentation just for it. Sri Lanka. TRC is the authority, and the reason why we put an asterisk on whether or not the approval is needed is because generally devices with the output power below 15 milliwatt are not subjected to radio approval. Assuming that the output power of your device is above 50 milliwatt, we need EN test reports, technical documents, and 1 to 2 samples. The samples are only for very basic verification, not the full technical test like other countries. The last point, if the manufacturer does not have a local importer by the time that they wish to certify their device, our agent can be the certificate holder. In which case, then the actual importer can leverage the certificate under our agent's name and follow a simplified process. Vietnam, the last country. The regulator is MIC and local approval is needed. For other technologies such as wireless LAN, if the output power is below 60 milliwatt, the approval is not mandatory. But for LoRaWAN devices, this rule is not applicable. Hence, we put that the approval is needed and mandatory. To summarize some points, local tests are needed and normally no issues are found. And the last key point is that local importer is needed, so please have it ready by the time that the project is initiated. We can't transfer certificates from one importer to another importer. Each importer will need their own certificate. And each importer will have to retest, will have tests conducted under their name as well. So these are the highlights for the 10 countries. If wanting further support or information, please contact our team. Thank you for your attention.